Hey, welcome back. I went ahead and asked on my Instagram if anyone had any questions about runes in particular, or if they had any questions about misconceptions about the runes. I do indeed have an Instagram. That is where you find me the most frequently, and that is where I'm the most active. If you want to talk to me on Instagram, I'm over here. There. Since the holidays are coming up, is it focused? Maybe not. This is Folkish English by Addison, this guy. Here's his Instagram. And he published a whole book. Look at this thing. If you're interested in languages, if you're interested in history and so on, it comes with a lot of etymology and stuff like that. Super, super cool. Thank you, Addison. Okay then, let's get into the questions. I'm so excited. Question number 1. Is there any common rules for composing Bindrunes? Or is it unique in every writing? Thank you so much for this question. It is so interesting. People are really into these Bindrunes, right? I've seen them all over Instagram. I am also, because I have one here. A common thing that I have kept seeing when I, for example, browse Instagram is that many mix Bindrunes up with magical staves from Iceland. Galdrastafir. Galdrastafir, they are symbols of witchcraft that originate from Iceland. And I'm sure that similar symbols have been used here and there all over the place, you know, in the world. But let's keep focus on the Nordic countries, because that's really what we're talking about here. These magical symbols called Galdrastafir, they originate from around the 1500s, 1600s in Iceland. So again, these are magical symbols, magical staves. They are not Bindrunes. We will talk more about these magical symbols as we get on with this episode, so you stay put. If you're interested in that, you don't even blink. You can breathe, but don't blink. I mean, Oskar never blinks and he's fine, I think. However, Bindrunes are these things. It's basically a binding, a merging of runes. And these could be kind of mixed up with secret runes, but they are too unsecret to be secret runes. You don't really have to decipher them. They're pretty spot on with which rune they're representing. So Bindrunes are simply runes that are merged, either by stylistic choices in the past, or by that someone has made an oopsie, a little mistake, and there is no erasers for carving in stone. Some of us are perfectionists and can't let go of a mistake. And historically, Bindrunes are just that. They are runes put together. And usually they're very readable. Like they are readable as letters. So here I do not know where it has been mixed up. Maybe it's a big mix of the magical staves from Iceland, the secret runes, and the rune sequences, you know, when runes repeat again and again in some kind of a secret message and has been attributed a magical meaning. I do not know if all of that somehow has gotten mixed and then mixed together with Bindrunes so that they are considered magical without even having to try. So my very easy answer is no, there are no rules if you want to make Bindrunes, how you should act or think. Besides merging runes, like you could do it in the one stave, the tall variation. There are many runes that are, you know, back to back and so on. They go into each other, and so that's really the rules, I guess. My suggestion would be to spell as correctly as possible, which you can and cannot do at the same time with runes. Next question. I think that the biggest misconceptions with runes is that they always were sacred. Can you elaborate a bit? If I can, that's what I do. You guys have no idea how much I have to edit out of these videos, because I just keep going and I go on tangents and I go everywhere, all over the place, but I will remain focused for you guys. First off, I will say I have made a whole video about magic and runes together, a previous video of mine over here. So let's go back to the question and let's decipher it a little bit. So the word sacred implies that it is in direct connection to a god or gods or some ritualistic religious happening going on. That is the word sacred. And historically we have very, very good examples of people carving runes in very, very, very rude messages to each other. And if you want to read more about this, very, very rude messages and what they say, I will link you my blog post about runes below. I do not want to say these things on YouTube. Runes are about documenting language and communicating language and sounds. And that is at the core of what the runes are for. Why they exist in the first place is to document and to communicate. And at the core of documenting and communicating between people, we also have cult or religion. So of course they have been used in religious practices historically as well, but the whole claim that they are always sacred, no, it doesn't hold up. Question 3. So what's the deal with activation with blood? Is that a Yankee thing or is it historically correct? Yeah, it apparently means Northern American. Google helped me a lot with this. So is it a Northern American thing? Historically, yeah, people have been using blood for all types of things. I mean, they have sacrificed whole human beings together with or as if they were animals. But that there would be some historical evidence of rune being activated with blood, that is also a very 1600s kind of thing, I would say. And talking about it being a 1600s thing and like activating with blood, I have to tell you something funny. You won't believe it. You won't believe this. So there is a black magic book originating from Iceland, right? Now we're in the 1600s. And there is a thing called Farthest Runes. Yes, you heard me correctly. I'm not making this up. And this is how you go about these Farthest Runes. To use Farthest Runes, you make the troll or magical staves with your own blood on a white calf skin. Calf. The baby cow skin. And you should say the following. After you have done this magical stave with your blood on the skin, you say, I carve the 8 Os runes, 9 Nod runes, 13 Thurs runes, which will all hunt your bowel, and with harsh tension and violent farting may never cease to happen either day or night. And I'm not making it up, it's absolutely crazy. I'm adding the sources down below, so like if you don't believe me, look it up. So I would be very careful activating any runes with blood if I were you guys. Weirdest farthest away from Scandinavia that runes have been found. One of my favorite finds of runestones is the runestone that was found in Ukraine. That's a long way from home. It is called the Berezany stone. Sorry if I pronounce that horribly. I'm not that good in Slavic languages at all. And it basically says Grani made this grave memorial for his companion Karl. And I think that's very, very sweet. Karl has probably passed away when they have been traveling through Europe. And if we travel even further away, we can go to Istanbul, Turkey. We can find runes inside of Hagia Sophia, it's an old church that turned into a mosque later on. It's a world heritage, very well known. And in there, some naughty Vikings have done some graffiti. On one place it says Halvdan, and on another place it says Arni. Basically, it's, you know, this kind of teenage thing, like, oh, Halvdan was here, Arni was here, kind of thing, which is pretty cool. And we also have the Piraeus lion. It's a huge statue of a lion. Again, some naughty Vikings have been there and done some graffiti all over this lion statue. This lion cannot be found in Greece anymore. It is found in Venice today. It was actually taken as a spoils of war during the 1600s from Greece to Italy. And I'm going to move on to the next question now, but I already hear that tapping of some people. What about the rune stones that have been found in North America? And this we can cover in a completely other episode, I think. We can go over it in detail. In my humble opinion, and in many experts' humble opinions, the stones of North America were made in the 1800s, which doesn't make them ancient and not as impressive. Someone traveling in the 1800s is not as impressive as someone traveling far in the 900s. And as an archaeologist, I really like my stones old. But again, we can go over that in another episode because it is very interesting. Question number 5, the one we've all been waiting for. What's up with the Vegvisir? And I do believe that you have heard many conflicting stories, because this is something that people like to bring up all over the internet and everywhere. If you ever look for historical information, don't go to TikTok. I've literally seen 3 different rune stones all around Sweden that claim to be Ragnar Lodbrok's grave. This is a question as old as time, or at least, again, as long as the 1800s, so about 200 something years. As a culture heritage studies person and archaeologist, this is something that I react to when I see, and that is when people are being very vocal about the Vegvisir and being very rude about the Vegvisir. Then I turn my attention elsewhere, because usually it is wrapped in this nasty tone where people go, well, actually, that is when my attention as an academic turns away, because I am interested in science, I am interested in information, I'm not interested in bullying. Let's just get that straight. And also, one theory that is out there that you might have run into is that there are some claims that the Vegvisir would be found at the Gallehushorn, or that the Ægishjalmur would be found at the Gallehushorn. It looks like this. The Gallehushorn are golden horns from Denmark, 5th century. For me it's a stretch. For me it's a stretch. This could be a flower, this could be a snowflake, this could just be anything. For me personally it's not enough. So, but I'm just going to throw that some people actually tell us that this is how old it is, from the 5th century, because of this. The deal with the Vegvisir, and why you keep seeing it everywhere, is someone has made up, or quite frankly just mixed up, that it is this magical compass that came around during the Viking Age for the Vikings to find themselves traveling the sea. And this is probably a mix-up or a wrong reading, or some more of a mistake than it's actually ill intent, and let me explain why. The Vegvisir, or Vägvisare in Swedish, literally means way or path, finder, which would be a compass, right? And it is made out of these different symbols, runes and so on, like a galdra stuff here. Magical staves, it is indeed one of those, and is considered one of these Icelandic magical symbols that we talked about earlier in the video. And this has been documented during the 1800s. It has been documented in not 1 but 3 different places. So it is documented in the Huld manuscript, but it is also documented in the Galdrakver. Galdrakver is Book of Spells, basically. And there are two other Galdrakver where it has been found. And in all of these 3 books, or manuscripts, or texts, whichever you want to use, it indeed says that it is a pathfinder, it is a Vegvisir, it is a magical symbol if you get lost at sea and you will find your way. And in one of these descriptions it says, even if you believe in God, it will help you a little extra much to find your way through the storm. So the Vegvisir is a cool looking Nordic symbol that is tied to magic. And this particular galderstaffer is not as old as the other one, as the Ægishjálmur, for example, that goes back to 1600 something. And all of this information gets kind of muddy and mixed together. Around these areas, around Scandinavia and the Nordic countries, if you go into a tourist shop, you will find Viking stuff, okay? And if you go to a football match, people will have those horned helmets. It's kind of a joke over here that, we're Vikings. And when people think about Scandinavia or Nordic countries, they also attribute it to, Vikings. You know, it's like a joke, right? And it isn't that hard to see where a symbol from a Nordic country that tells a spell of finding your way through the stormy waters have somehow got it mixed up with that, Vikings, because what are Vikings known for? They went on boats. I see that that is not a far-fetched thing that has happened, you know, when someone has read something or said something and it has been kind of muddied together. And then we have this double misconception where it's thinking that also that Vikings didn't have anything to do with a Christian worldview. They very much did. Not all Vikings were heathens. And this 1800 symbol, the Vegvisir, is also from a Christian worldview. So it's kind of becomes this double misconception where it's like either people say, it's not a Viking symbol. No, but it is a Nordic symbol. It's a Christian symbol, it's not a pagan symbol. Most runestones in Sweden are also Christian. They talk about God, they have crosses on them. I don't understand this hyperfixation people have on the worldview of the past and the symbols that have been created in the past in this worldview. The Yule goat, for example, I've seen many people outside of the Nordic countries that thinks these are super cool, and sometimes people will say quite unfunded that these have to do with Thor because Thor had goats and this is a goat, and but there's no sources for that. However, that doesn't mean that it also isn't cool or isn't like a nice symbol, because the Yule book, it also goes back 17, 18s, 1900s even. So culture should be fun and it always changes and it isn't as easy as most people make it out to be. And with all of these, I get back to this tone that I see online where people are actually really nasty to each other, where they go bashing other people's tattoos, which is a very personal choice. As someone with tattoos, I mean, I'm all over the place. I have an African elephant, I have tarot cards, I have petroglyphs, I have, Mass Effect, a video game thing on here, and much, much more that is not connected with each other. Tattooing is a part of culture, tattooing is a part of expression and creativity, and I could never imagine, as someone who knows a lot about runes and history and all of that stuff, I could never imagine walking up to someone and telling them, because I've seen some pretty funky rune tattoos, I can never imagine going up to someone that I don't know and tell them that, hey, what you have chosen to have on your skin, that is not okay, because I know that this historically, da-da-da-da-da. And trust me, no one wants to have an unconsensual lecture brought to them about their own body, about their own skin, during their afternoon coffee by some stranger that is also having a very rude and entitled tone. So if you have a Vegvisir symbol, if you have runes tattooed with or without that symbol, whatever, it's a Nordic symbol, it represents finding your way through rough times, through rough waters, and you owe no one to match your tattoos to their liking, okay? We have reached the last question. Is it true that this rune is never used? So for everyone wondering, this rune, this is an O rune from the younger Futhark, the Viking Age Futhark, in other words. And it is also pronounced as a kind of sound. It's kind of funny. This is a sound that has survived to the early parts of the Viking Age, so that is when the sound is used. But at the end of the Viking Age, it can be used as an O or an I or ä. And yeah, this rune is used a lot. It is not used more or less than other runes. And it is also important to remember, like, as we've talked about in previous videos, runes do not always look the same. There are local differences, there are differences in time. And so this is what I mean. On the Rök runestone, this rune looks like this, for example, where it doesn't go all the way through. And on U236, it looks like this, and it goes all the way through, from one side to the other. So sometimes the lines go through the stave, sometimes they don't. And if you are really unlucky, you will find yourself in Hälsingland and find this O rune as a staveless variation. And this is what you would end up with. So we want to thank everyone that asked questions. Thank you so much from me and Oskar. I don't know how much information he can fit into his big head here, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Thanks so much for being here with me and learning about, hopefully, new things. If you have your own questions, or if you have any further questions to what I have stated in this video, you are more than welcome to comment here, or you can look me up on Instagram and ask me there. And I have a couple of source links down below if you are very curious, so you know that I'm just not sitting here making stuff up as well. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon again. Hejdå!